The ocean is vast, endless, and alive with secrets that few ever hear. Beneath its surface, time moves differently, flowing like a dream. Tonight, we journey deep, where sunlight fades and shadows begin to sing. This is not a tale of battles, but of mysteries hidden in coral and tide. At the heart of the sea stands Poseidon, guardian and keeper of the waves. He listens to the voices of dolphins, the chants of whales, the hum of currents. But lately, a whisper rises from the floor of the ocean, soft yet persistent. It calls to him in tones unknown, weaving both promise and warning together. Fish scatter from a glow unseen, reefs tremble, and silence grows heavy. The god of the sea knows the balance has shifted and something stirs below. Far beyond mortal sight lies a place untouched, wrapped in wonder and dread. It is called the Coral Labyrinth, a maze older than Poseidon himself. No trident can command it, no tide can break its walls of living stone. And so begins our descent into a realm where beauty hides its trials. Stay close, for the ocean remembers, and tonight it begins to speak. The sea rests in endless motion, yet beneath its calm lies a secret waiting to rise. Currents twist gently, carrying whispers that no mortal ear has ever known. Poseidon, lord of the oceans, walks the deep in silence, trident shining faintly. The whales sing their ancient songs, but their notes falter with strange hesitation. Dolphins leap and fall quiet, as if sensing a question hidden in the tide. Far below, beyond reefs and kelp, something stirs that the god cannot ignore. It is not a storm, nor the call of war, but a whisper softer than the waves. At first, he believes it to be memory, an echo from a forgotten voyage. But the sound grows, patient and steady, threading itself through the water. It moves with intent, circling him, fading, and then returning once again. Poseidon halts, listening not with his ears, but with the weight of the sea. The ocean speaks in many tongues, yet this voice feels older, stranger still. It carries neither anger nor sorrow, only a pull, like tide drawn to moon. The god follows, drifting past coral arches and gardens glowing with life. Schools of silverfish scatter at his passing, trembling as if under command. Yet Poseidon has not called them, nor does his trident shine with command. The fish move because they too hear it, the subtle hum beneath the current. He moves deeper, leaving the warmth of the sunlit waters behind. The sea darkens. Stars of plankton shimmer like a false sky in the abyss. The voice grows stronger, not louder, but more certain with each step. It is less a sound than a presence, weaving itself into his every thought. Poseidon frowns, for few things in this world dare to summon him so openly. He is the tide itself, yet here the tide feels drawn, pulled as by unseen hands. He remembers tales whispered by nereids of a place unmarked on any map. They spoke of coral that grew in walls, bending like mazes, endless and alive. They called it a labyrinth, but never dared approach, fearing its quiet power. Was this the same labyrinth, calling at last to the ruler of the sea? Poseidon does not answer aloud, for words seem fragile in this deep silence. Instead, he lets the current carry him closer to the sound's hidden source. Shadows rise, shaped like towers of stone, though softer, pulsing with color. It is coral, yet not coral as mortals know, for it seems to breathe and shift. Each branch glows faintly, as if lit by memories trapped inside their veins. The whisper grows clearer now, threading through the coral's living lattice. It does not command, but beckons, patient as a tide waiting for the shore. Poseidon lays his hand upon a pillar, feeling warmth beneath the surface. The coral hums, and for a moment he senses voices not his own. Sailors lost to the sea. Creatures vanished, waves that broke long ago. The labyrinth does not hold bones, but memories pressed into its walls. And it is those memories that call him now, weaving past into present. Poseidon breathes slow, steady, though gods need no air to fill their lungs. The ocean itself seems to pause, waiting for him to choose a path forward. To enter is to surrender control, for no map nor trident can lead within. Yet to turn away is to ignore the ocean's plea, and that he cannot allow. The whisper rises once more, no longer distant, but close around him. It shapes itself into a single truth. The labyrinth has chosen its guest. Poseidon closes his eyes, listening not with power, but with patience. The sea quiets, the current steadies, and the way begins to open. Thus the journey into the Coral Labyrinth prepares to unfold. The sea stretches vast, but here the horizon bends with a shimmer not born of sun. Poseidon rises through dark water, sensing a glow that ripples beyond sight. It is not fire nor lightning, but a radiance older, woven deep into the tide. The currents hesitate, swirling in confusion as if they too fear its source. Fish scatter, darting into cracks of stone, refusing to cross the shining veil. Even the playful dolphins fall silent, their songs replaced by uneasy clicks. The whales, mighty and eternal, turn away before their song can echo near. All the sea knows something approaches, and it chooses distance over curiosity. Poseidon alone advances, carried by purpose, not pride, his steps unshaken. The shimmer grows, bending light, painting the water in strange, liquid fire. It dances like an aurora beneath the waves, threads of silver and green. The nearer he moves, the more the glow begins to pulse, steady and alive. It does not blind but unsettles, for light has no place in these depths. Poseidon narrows his gaze, for the ocean is not meant to shine so fiercely. Every reef he passes trembles, coral pulling inward like a creature afraid. Even the sand rises in clouds, drifting as if to mask the way ahead. Yet nothing can hide the glow, steady as a heartbeat calling without sound. The god halts a moment, trident balanced, not as weapon, but as anchor. His eyes close, listening again, and the whisper returns within the shimmer. It is not a single voice, but many, woven together like strands of kelp. They sing not words, but intentions, a summons shaped in gentle rhythm. Poseidon hears longing, warning, and invitation, all balanced in one song. He opens his eyes and sees the sea itself bow before the light. Currents drift backward, waves retreat, leaving stillness in the deep. It is as if the ocean holds its breath, waiting for his next step. Ahead, the glow sharpens, forming a horizon beneath the true horizon. It bends the water around it, folding space like glass turned upon itself. The path is no longer clear, for distance collapses into illusion. The shapes form in the shimmer, arches, towers, spirals of radiant coral. They vanish and return, never still, as though the ocean sketches them new. Poseidon moves closer, each step slow, guided not by sight, but by resolve. For the light is a gate, and every part of the sea resists its opening. Creatures of shadow flicker past him, born only of glow and fear. He does not strike them, for they are not real, but echoes of the glow. The trident hums faintly, resonating with the pulse of the horizon. It is not in defiance, but in recognition, like one song answering another. Poseidon feels the truth stir within. This glow is no threat of war. It is a call to test, a trial wrapped not in rage but in patience. He remembers the nymphs and their warnings of a place untamed. The Coral Labyrinth, older than even the tides he commands. He knows now this horizon is its edge, its veil, its living threshold. Every creature has turned away, but the sea cannot turn from itself. And Poseidon, born of salt and storm, cannot turn from his duty. The shimmer ripples once more, brightening until it fills his vision. The world bends, the ocean falls silent, and the glow becomes all. He steps forward, leaving behind the safety of what was known. The horizon breaks like glass, and a new realm unfurls before him. Thus, Poseidon passes beyond light, into the waiting arms of mystery. The sea folds into silence as Poseidon crosses the veil of light. Before him lies a chamber vast, carved not by stone but by living coral. The walls breathe, their colors shifting like dawn across endless sky. Here the labyrinth begins, yet no map can trace its winding heart. From the coral steps figures, not flesh but water, shimmering into form. They are the sea nymphs, guardians of mystery, woven of tide and glow. Their eyes shine like pearls, voices soft as foam upon a quiet shore. They gather in a circle, neither hostile nor welcoming, only watchful. Poseidon lowers his trident, for this is not a place to command. The nymphs speak together, a chorus like ripples joining as one. Lord of tides, why do you walk where none have dared remain? Their question carries no malice, only the weight of warning. Poseidon answers with calm, his voice deep as the ocean floor. The sea called, and I must answer, for I am bound to its breath. The nymphs exchange glances, their shapes flickering with unease. They whisper again, words overlapping like waves breaking on rock. This place is the Coral Labyrinth, a maze older than the stars. It holds no treasure of gold, but truths that few dare face. Poseidon listens, the stillness of his gaze steady and patient. The nymphs draw nearer, their hands trailing light across the coral. Each touch awakens a hum, the walls echoing with forgotten songs. They speak of sailors who entered, only to lose their way forever. They speak of creatures who sought power and vanished into silence. Yet they also tell of those who found clarity, though not without cost. The labyrinth is no enemy, but it devours pride without mercy. Poseidon nods, for he has known pride and he has known loss. I do not seek dominion here, he says, only the truth it offers. The nymphs fall silent, the water thick with their unspoken test. One steps forward, her form more solid, her voice more clear. She tells of 3 paths woven into the maze, each alive and shifting. One path tempts with beauty, dazzling but empty of true light. One path deceives with echoes, trapping wanderers in endless circles. One path waits in silence, hidden where truth reveals itself. Poseidon considers, for all 3 are woven of the same coral. There is no simple choice, no mark to guide his steps. The nymph warns him, the labyrinth changes with your heart. Enter with pride, and it will mirror only illusions. Enter with fear, and it will echo doubt until you drown. Enter with patience, and it may open its hidden way. Poseidon feels the weight of their words settle within his chest. He does not deny the challenge, nor does he underestimate it. The labyrinth will not be conquered by trident or by storm. It will be walked only by spirit, steady as the tide. The nymphs fade, their bodies dissolving into streams of light. Their last words linger, soft as a lullaby carried by waves. Choose well, Lord of the deep, for the sea remembers all. Silence returns, broken only by the pulse of coral around him. The walls seem closer now, glowing with a rhythm like a heartbeat. Poseidon steps forward, the trident steady in his hand. He feels no fear, though the water grows heavier with each breath. The labyrinth stretches ahead, paths folding into one another. Each turn shimmers, promising beauty, danger, and silence alike. The god of the sea exhales, the current bending to his calm. He takes the first step into the maze, and the walls shift in reply. Thus begins the true test, not of power, but of spirit. Poseidon walks deeper into the living maze, each step echoing through walls of coral. The water hums softly, like a song rising from the marrow of the sea. Every arch he passes bends and reforms, as though the labyrinth breathes. Colors shift across the walls, glowing with blues, golds, and scarlets of dawn. No path remains still, each one twisting like seaweed in a restless current. He knows now this place is alive, aware, and watching his every motion. The trident hums faintly, yet it cannot command the shape of this realm. Poseidon realizes power alone cannot guide him through the shifting maze. A voice returns, softer now, threading through coral with patient intent. It asks no question but lingers like a thought at the edge of memory. The god stills himself, letting silence press against him like a tide. He recalls the nymph's warning. Pride would birth illusions, fear would drown. Patience alone can open the hidden way where truth lies waiting. Yet patience is not easy for one who has ruled waves since the world began. The sea bends to his will, but here he must bend to something greater. He closes his eyes and listens, not with ears, but with the weight of being. The labyrinth stirs, shifting again, the walls folding inward like petals. Before him appear three arches, woven of coral and shimmering light. One glitters with radiant beauty, brighter than any treasure of the sea. One hums with echoes, voices of sailors, gods, and storms long past. One is still, quiet, veiled in shadow, unremarkable and plain. The test is clear, though the choice is heavy, each path alive with promise. The first calls to desire, promising marvels brighter than the sunlit waves. The second tempts with sound, the comfort of voices and familiar echoes. The third waits in silence, offering nothing but emptiness and shadow. Poseidon breathes deep, letting each arch sing its lure into his heart. He sees the danger in the first, for beauty alone blinds and deceives. He feels the pull of the second, for echoes can lead only in circles. He turns at last to the third, where silence waits, steady and patient. It is not glory nor comfort, but truth often hides in what is plain. Without hesitation, he steps toward the silent arch, trident steady in hand. The water grows heavier, thick like glass, pressing against his chest. No sound follows, no current moves. The sea itself holds its breath. He walks through, and the world darkens, swallowing even his glow. For a moment, he knows solitude, deeper than gods should endure. Yet he does not falter, for silence is not absence, but presence unseen. The labyrinth shifts again, unfolding into a vast corridor of shadow. Here no color glows, no choral hums, only stillness reigns supreme. But within the quiet, he senses it, a thread of truth woven deep. Not a voice, not a song, but a pulse steady as the ocean's own heart. It leads him forward, unseen, intangible, but real as tied to shore. Poseidon follows, step by step, his patience guiding more than power. The silence does not break him. It shapes him, teaching restraint. At last, the corridor opens into a chamber vast and endless. Coral towers rise like pillars, pale against the darkness surrounding. In the center stands a gate, carved of coral yet glowing faintly. It does not open by command, nor by strength, but by waiting. Poseidon rests his trident beside him, folding his will into calm. He waits, unshaken, letting silence wash over him without resistance. Moments stretch like tides, and the gate responds at last. It breathes open, coral folding back like petals to a hidden bloom. Light spills forth, soft, gentle, carrying warmth into the cold sea. Poseidon lifts his trident once more, not as weapon, but as guide. He steps through the living gate, leaving silence behind him. The labyrinth accepts his patience, and the journey deepens further. The gate closes behind Poseidon, sealing the silence in the chamber he has left behind. He now enters a vast corridor bathed in soft, shimmering light that dances like liquid stars. The coral here glows in patterns, weaving constellations across walls alive with quiet rhythm. Each glow pulses gently, as though the labyrinth carries its own heartbeat of the deep. Poseidon senses this is no ordinary path, but a passage woven with memory and story. The water around him warms, and the light seems to whisper tales without words. He sees shapes flicker across the coral, moments born from long-forgotten ages. Sailors lost at sea, their hopes cast like lanterns into the endless tide. Creatures of myth rising from shadows, their forms etched in coral flame. Even gods themselves flicker across the walls, bound within the memory of water. The labyrinth remembers everything, keeping the secrets of sea and time alive. Poseidon watches in silence, humbled by the weight of lives woven into coral. For though he is the god of the sea, even he has forgotten many of these tales. The ocean holds stories too deep for any ruler to recall or control. He feels the burden and beauty of memory pressing like currents upon his chest. Then a new light flickers brighter, calling his gaze toward a figure forming. It is not mortal, not beast, not even god, but something woven of coral itself. The figure glows, delicate yet strong, shaped like a guardian born of the maze. Its form shifts with the water, neither fixed nor fading, but alive with purpose. It does not speak, yet Poseidon feels its presence settle in his thoughts. The labyrinth has given him a guide, not of words, but of light and motion. The figure drifts ahead, its glow pulling gently, like the moon tugs at the tide. Poseidon follows, the trident steady at his side, though here it feels unnecessary. For the coral guide moves with assurance, never hesitating within the shifting maze. It leads him past corridors where light thickens into images and stories. One wall shows ships sailing endlessly, their masts swallowed by storms unseen. Another pulses with the rhythm of whale song, a chorus carved in coral flame. A third darkens suddenly, revealing shadows of a future yet unwritten. Poseidon pauses, unsettled by what he cannot fully grasp within the images. But the coral guide continues, pulling him gently away from distraction and fear. The labyrinth, he realizes, tests not only patience, but also trust. To follow a path without question is not weakness, but surrender to wisdom. He sets aside his doubt and follows, letting the light shape his way forward. Deeper they move, until the walls widen into a chamber vast as the open sea. The ceiling arches high, coral branching like constellations in an underwater sky. In the center rests a pool, still and dark, untouched by glow or current. The guide hovers above the pool, its form trembling with silent importance. Poseidon approaches, the water calm yet holding an unfamiliar weight of expectation. He kneels beside the pool and gazes into the depths, waiting for revelation. The surface does not reflect him, but shimmers with shifting scenes unknown. Mountains, forests, and skies ripple across its face, lands far from the sea. He sees rivers winding like silver threads, lakes shining like mirrors in the sun. For a moment, He feels himself connected to every stream, every droplet of rain. The ocean does not stand apart. It is one with all waters of the earth. He understands now that the labyrinth is teaching him unity beyond the tides. To rule the sea is not only to command the waves, but to honor all waters. From clouds to rivers, from tears to storms, each carries the same eternal song. The pool glows brighter, and the coral guide lowers itself into the light. Its form dissolves into ripples, becoming part of the vision unfolding. Poseidon feels the truth settle into him, steady as the rhythm of tides. The labyrinth does not seek his power, but his remembrance of connection. Every droplet belongs to the sea, and the sea belongs to every droplet. As the pool fades back to stillness, the god rises, transformed within. He no longer feels apart from the maze, but woven as thread within its design. The corridor beyond opens, shimmering with light, more welcoming than before. The labyrinth has accepted his understanding, granting him passage deeper still. Poseidon lifts his trident, not in conquest, but as a pledge to remember. And with steady resolve, he follows the light into the heart of the unknown. Poseidon steps into the new passage, where the water feels lighter, as though the weight of the sea has eased. The corridor stretches far, glowing with coral strands that weave like threads in a grand tapestry. Each wall is alive with delicate carvings, shapes too intricate to belong to mortal hands. The labyrinth now feels less like a prison and more like a cathedral of the ocean. Every curve, every arch, every shimmer speaks of reverence older than gods themselves. Poseidon feels small, though his form towers, as though he is but a guest in sacred halls. The trident glows faintly, not in power, but in resonance with the coral's hum. He realizes this place is not meant to be conquered, but understood and honored. Ahead, the path opens into a chamber vast and bright, unlike any before. Here the coral forms a dome, transparent, revealing the endless ocean above. Fish of silver and gold circle the dome, casting flickers of light on its walls. In the center lies a spiral of coral rising upward, like a staircase without end. The spiral glows in hues of emerald and sapphire, each step alive with gentle light. Poseidon approaches, sensing that the spiral is more than stone, more than coral. It is a test of ascent, not of strength, but of balance within. He places his hand on the first step, and the spiral hums in response. The coral glows brighter, and water currents gather softly around his form. He begins to climb, each step heavier than the last, though no stone weighs him down. The burden he feels is not of body, but of memory and soul. Visions stir with each step, rising like currents from the sea itself. He sees mortals praying to him on stormy shores, their cries filled with hope and fear. He sees sailors offering treasures, begging for calm seas and guiding stars. He sees kingdoms rising and falling along coasts, their lives bound to the tides. Each vision weighs upon him, reminding him of the power and duty he holds. The spiral demands he bear these truths, not as burdens, but as trust bestowed. Poseidon's breath grows heavy, though gods do not tire as mortals do. He feels the ache of centuries, the endless call of waves and storms. Yet still he climbs, step by step, carrying the voices of all who live by water. Halfway, the spiral shifts, glowing brighter, and new visions appear. He sees not mortals, but gods, his kin upon Olympus, radiant and proud. Zeus casting thunder across the sky, Athena weaving wisdom into mortal hands, Artemis guiding moonlight over waves, Hermes carrying winds across the sea. Each vision reminds him he is not alone, yet also not beyond conflict. The spiral asks him to face not only memory, but his place among the divine. Poseidon steadies himself, gripping the trident, but he does not fight the visions. He lets them pass through him, not clinging to pride, not resisting with envy. He remembers what the labyrinth teaches: patience, unity, and surrender to truth. The visions fade, and the burden lessens, though the climb remains steep. At last, he reaches the final step, where the spiral narrows into a peak of light. Here the coral blooms into a flower, radiant, pulsing with gentle warmth. Within its heart lies a droplet of water, glowing brighter than the sunlit sea. Poseidon reaches out, but not with force, only with reverence and care. The droplet lifts, hovering, before sinking softly into his chest. A warmth spreads through him, deeper than tide, steadier than storm. He feels the labyrinth's gift, an understanding beyond power, a bond with all waters. The spiral dims, its purpose fulfilled, leaving only calm light behind. Poseidon descends, yet the climb has changed him, his steps lighter, his heart steadier. The dome above shines brighter, as though the sea itself has recognized his growth. When he returns to the chamber floor, the path ahead glows clear and welcoming. The labyrinth opens once more, granting passage deeper into its living heart. Poseidon lifts his gaze, no longer burdened, but ready for what waits beyond. For the journey has become not a test of might, but of wisdom unfolding. Poseidon moves forward, leaving the spiral chamber behind, his heart still carrying the warmth of the droplet. The corridor ahead narrows, its walls rising like ribs of a great creature asleep in the sea. Shadows dance along the coral, bending with shapes that shift too swiftly to be followed. Here, the labyrinth feels different, less sacred, more like a place of trial and reflection. The water cools, the glow fades, and silence settles thick as a cloak around him. Poseidon senses that he has entered a realm not of memory, but of illusion. The trident flickers faintly, unable to steady the shifting shadows that crowd the walls. They ripple and twist, forming visions drawn not from history, but from within him. He sees waves rising high, storms unleashed at his command, fury without restraint. He sees mortals cowering on shores, their prayers mixed with fear of his name. The shadows show him not the god of balance, but the god of wrath and tempest. Poseidon grips his trident tightly, feeling the weight of his own reflection. The labyrinth now tests not patience or unity, but humility in the face of truth. The shadows swell, becoming mirrors of his own form, towering and terrible. Each reflection laughs in silence, shaking the sea with their imagined storms. Poseidon steadies his breath, refusing to yield to anger or denial. He whispers to himself, a sound that echoes softly through the still water. I am not storm alone. I am tide. I am calm. I am the quiet pull of the moon. The shadows hesitate, their forms flickering, weakened by his words of balance. But another rises, darker, sharper. Cloaked in pride, Poseidon once wore like armor. It points at him with a coral trident, eyes glowing like volcanic fire. You are power, it seems to say, though no words leave its shifting lips. You rule because fear bends mortals, because storms remind them of your dominion. Poseidon does not turn away, though the vision unsettles the depths of his being. He steps closer, meeting the gaze of his darker self without flinching. I am not fear, he says, voice calm as the tide before dawn. I am guardian of the waters, and they are more than storms and rage. The shadow trembles, its trident fading, its form unraveling into scattered light. The corridor brightens slightly, Those shadows linger, patient, waiting to return. Poseidon knows this trial will not vanish with a single truth spoken. The labyrinth demands that he carry balance not once, but always. As he walks on, the illusions shift again, taking new forms around him. Now he sees his kin, Zeus and Hades, looking upon him with eyes of judgment. Zeus crowned with lightning, Hades cloaked in shadow, both standing apart from him. Their gaze is heavy, filled with doubt, as though he is unworthy of the sea. The old wound stirs, the rivalry of brothers carved deep into his being. But Poseidon does not rise to defend himself, nor does he sink into resentment. He bows his head gently, acknowledging the truth of his place among them. "I am not lesser for standing apart," he whispers, "nor greater for the sea I hold." The visions of his brothers dissolve, their judgment fading into nothingness. The corridor opens wider, the shadows thinning as the water warms again. Poseidon exhales slowly, relief washing over him like the turning of the tide. Yet he knows the lesson is clear. The labyrinth has forced him to face himself. Not the storms he commands, nor the worship he receives, but the pride he carries. And only by humbling that pride can he move forward, step by step. Ahead, the path glimmers faintly, coral glowing with new light of acceptance. The walls no longer ripple with shadows, but hum softly with steady calm. Poseidon passes through, his spirit steadier, his form lighter in the water. The labyrinth has peeled back another layer of who he is, showing truth without mask. He carries the silence of this chamber within him, knowing it will return if forgotten. But he also carries the strength of having faced it and remained unbroken. The passage stretches on, leading toward another mystery waiting in the deep. Poseidon steps into a new corridor, its walls curving gently as though shaped by ancient currents. The coral here is pale, almost white, gleaming faintly like ivory under moonlight. The water feels lighter, fresher, carrying whispers that move like unseen tides around him. He senses this chamber holds not mirrors or judgment, but riddles woven from silence. The labyrinth no longer confronts him with shadows. Instead, it invites him to listen. The trident hums faintly, responding to the subtle call that thrums through the coral. Poseidon pauses, waiting, letting the quiet unfold into meaning he cannot rush. Then the sound rises, a murmur like voices carried in seashells placed to the ear. It is not one voice, but many, layered and delicate, blending like foam over waves. The voices ask a question, though no words are spoken in the human sense. What is strength, if not tempered by restraint, and power, if not guided by care? Poseidon closes his eyes, the riddle echoing within him like the rhythm of tides. He has known storms, he has wielded power, he has commanded waves to shatter stone. Yet he also knows the tide withdraws, the sea softens, balance returns after chaos. He speaks aloud, though no mouth asks for his answer in this place. Strength is not endless storm. It is the tide that knows when to rise, when to fall. The coral glows faintly brighter, as though approving the truth in his reply. The voices return, gentle but firm, weaving another thread into their riddle. What is dominion, if not shared and rule, if not for the good of the many? Poseidon breathes deeply, for this question pierces deeper than the first. He remembers the prayers of mortals, the fear in their eyes when storms rose. He remembers also their gratitude, when calm seas carried them safely home. His heart steadies, his answer growing like a calm swell upon an open sea. Dominion is not command alone. It is guardianship, a bond between the sea and all it carries. Again, the coral brightens, a warm shimmer spreading like dawn through the passage. The voices soften, but their resonance grows deeper, as though roots take hold in his heart. The third riddle unfurls, slow and solemn, like a tide that cannot be hurried. What is self, if not more than pride, and being, if not woven with all that surrounds it? Poseidon stands still, letting the question wash over him like a tide against rock. He thinks of his pride, his storms, his battles with kin, and the solitude of his reign. Yet he also remembers the dolphins leaping in play, the coral gardens thriving unseen. He remembers the sea's song, vast and eternal, where every drop has a place. His answer comes not in force, but in humility, as though carried by the current itself. I am not pride alone. I am part of the ocean's endless weave, as it is part of me. The coral flares bright, radiant as if the labyrinth itself breathes with joy. The voices fall silent, their echoes settling into peace that fills the entire chamber. The walls seem to hum with harmony, no longer testing but embracing him. Poseidon feels the labyrinth shift, granting him passage as the way ahead opens. The corridor widens, filled now with threads of light that drift like currents of song. Each thread touches him gently, leaving warmth upon his skin, a gift of remembrance. The trident glows in answer, stronger than before, as though it too has heard the truths. Poseidon continues, his steps firm, his spirit carrying the riddles like sacred vows. He knows the labyrinth has not only tested him, but also taught him to listen. Strength, dominion, and self are not burdens, but balances, like waves against the shore. As he moves onward, the whispers fade, leaving only the sound of his own heartbeat. Yet he knows they linger, etched into the currents, guiding him beyond this place. The path bends gently, leading him deeper, into the next mystery of the coral maze. Poseidon follows the winding path as it curves downward, leading him into a deeper chamber of the labyrinth. The coral changes here, no longer pale but glowing faintly with hues of green and blue. The water thickens, carrying the scent of salt more strongly, as though close to an unseen shore. He feels the hum of the labyrinth shift, growing softer, like a lullaby beneath the waves. In the distance, a soft light flickers, not steady, but wavering like a flame underwater. As he approaches, he sees the chamber widen into a dome of coral woven like lace. At its center drifts a sphere of light, pulsing gently as if alive with its own breath. It is surrounded by schools of small silver fish, circling endlessly in a spiral dance. Poseidon senses this chamber is one of remembrance, not trial, but reflection. The trident grows warm in his hand, resonating faintly with the glow before him. He steps closer, and the sphere shimmers, releasing threads of light that drift toward him. They curl around his form like gentle currents, carrying fragments of memory. Images appear, ancient seas, vast and unspoiled, long before mortals walked the earth. Whales singing in deep caverns, their voices rising like hymns of the ocean's heart. Coral reefs blooming in brilliant color, untouched, alive, infinite in their song. The sphere whispers without words, showing him the sea before dominion and rule. Poseidon feels a pang, both wonder and sorrow, at what has been lost across ages. He sees mortals building ships, crossing waters, learning to fear and revere the waves. He sees temples rising on distant shores, where prayers were spoken to his name. The light shifts again, showing not past, but present seas, alive yet burdened. Waters clouded by mortal hands, reefs fading, creatures fleeing from poisoned tides. Poseidon lowers his gaze, the images heavy as anchors upon his spirit. He whispers softly. The sea remembers. It holds all joy and sorrow within its depths. The fish circle faster, as if stirred by the truth of his words. The sphere flickers brighter, releasing another wave of light that touches his chest. This time, the vision is of the future, uncertain and shifting like mist over water. He sees two paths. One where the seas are darkened, broken, stripped of life. Another where reefs bloom again, where balance is honored, where harmony thrives. The sphere offers no answer, only the weight of choice and responsibility. Poseidon breathes deeply, the current of the labyrinth flowing through his resolve. He understands now that the labyrinth does not only test him, but entrusts him. It reminds him that guardianship is not only command, but also care across time. The trident glows brighter, its tips catching the light of the sphere like starlight. Poseidon raises it slowly, and the sphere pulses in rhythm, answering his vow. I will remember, he says firmly, and the sea will remember with me. The light expands, filling the chamber with radiance before receding once more. The fish scatter gently, drifting into cracks of coral like fragments of a dream. The dome grows still, its glow fading into a calm, steady hum of quiet. Poseidon feels changed, his heart heavier yet steadier, as though carrying new purpose. The path ahead opens again, the coral shifting to reveal another corridor. He takes one last look at the chamber, carrying its visions like pearls of memory. Then he moves forward, the trident gleaming, his resolve deep as the tide. The labyrinth leads him onward, toward trials not yet seen, into mysteries yet untold. Poseidon enters the next corridor, its walls higher, the coral darker, as though carved from midnight itself. The water presses heavier, dense and slow, like a weight upon his chest with every step. A silence lingers here, deeper than before, carrying no whispers, no songs, only emptiness. He senses this chamber will not speak in riddles, but test him in silence and stillness. The path curves downward into a wide basin, where the water feels colder than the deepest trenches. The coral forms jagged spires rising like frozen flames, sharp against the dim light. At the center rests a vast mirror of water, still as glass, unbroken by current. Poseidon approaches, the trident dim, as though even its glow has been swallowed. He kneels at the edge, gazing into the water's surface, and finds no reflection. Only darkness stares back, void of image, void of self, void of form. For the first time in the labyrinth, he feels the pull of emptiness. Not illusion, not vision, but absence, as if the sea itself withdrew from him. He lowers the trident into the pool, hoping to stir its silence into answer. Yet no ripple comes, no shimmer of light, only the same unyielding black. Poseidon feels unease, a hollowness spreading in his chest like a tide turned inward. The labyrinth here does not show him who he is, but asks who he would be without. Without the sea, without power, without the prayers of mortals or the storms of gods. The silence presses harder, and his thoughts echo louder in the void. What remains when the tide withdraws, when pride is stripped, when power falls away? Poseidon breathes slowly, his voice barely a whisper against the thick stillness. If nothing remains, then I am no more than storm without sea, roar without depth. His words vanish, devoured by the silence, leaving him with nothing but the echo of doubt. Yet he does not turn away, nor does he flee the emptiness. Instead, he lays the trident down beside him, surrendering its faint light. He closes his eyes, feeling the cold seep deeper, as though testing his resolve. I am not the storm I wield, nor the crown mortals give me. he says softly.
Will not yield.
I am tide. I am current. I am the stillness between waves, whether seen or unseen. The silence holds him, unmoved, heavy, endless, until his words settle like stone. Then the water shifts, a single ripple spreading outward, slow but sure. The pool glimmers faintly, and within it, his reflection begins to form. Not grand, not cloaked in storms, but simple, steady, calm as the sea at dawn. Poseidon meets his reflection, and for the first time in the labyrinth, he smiles. Not with pride, but with peace, seeing himself stripped of storm, yet still whole. The mirror water brightens, casting light across the basin, breaking the suffocating dark. The jagged coral softens, its edges glowing with pale silver, no longer harsh, but serene. The trident hums again, brighter now, as though renewed by the acceptance within him. Poseidon rises, lifting it with steady hands, his spirit calm as the turning tide. The basin trembles once, then parts, revealing a new passage, glowing faintly ahead. He takes a final look at the pool, where his reflection now drifts clear and true. The silence lingers, but it no longer feels heavy, only balanced and whole. Poseidon steps into the passage, carrying with him the stillness of this chamber. The labyrinth has shown him not only his power, but his emptiness, and his worth beyond both. He moves onward, deeper into the maze, ready for whatever truths await in the deep. Poseidon moves into the final chamber, the weight of his journey carried in each measured step. The labyrinth's walls rise wide and shimmering, coral glowing like constellations across the ocean floor. It feels less like a maze now, and more like a sanctuary, vast and still, breathing with light. The trident hums in his grip, not with dominance, but with quiet resonance, steady as a heartbeat. Here the sea is neither storm nor silence, but balance, holding both fury and calm in its depths. Poseidon senses the labyrinth is no longer testing him, but receiving him, as though he belongs here. The coral arches high above, forming a dome like the heavens mirrored in ocean stone. He gazes upward, seeing light filter down in beams, soft and golden, like morning touching waves. For the first time, he feels the labyrinth welcome him, its walls opening like a tide in retreat. The echoes of voices rise again, but softer now, like currents whispering through coral gardens. They do not test or tempt him. They simply sing, weaving harmony in the water around him. Poseidon listens, eyes closed, and realizes the labyrinth was never a prison, but a mirror of self. Every chamber held a truth, of pride, of silence, of doubt, of balance, of belonging. Together they formed a map, not of paths, but of soul guiding him to the center within. He kneels upon the coral floor, laying the trident before him, surrendering it once more. The glow does not fade, but spreads, wrapping him in soft light, gentle as a tide's embrace. He speaks, not to the labyrinth, but to himself, his voice calm and steady. I am storm, I am stillness, I am sea, I am depth. I am all, and I am enough. The labyrinth trembles, not in fury, but in acknowledgement, as though bowing to his acceptance. The coral brightens into radiant colors, reds and blues, golds and silvers, blooming across the chamber. It is not victory he feels, but peace. A tide settling after long and restless waves. He lifts the trident once more, not as a weapon, but as a symbol of harmony. The voices fade into silence, leaving only the sound of water moving, gentle and eternal. Ahead, a path opens, bright with light, leading beyond the labyrinth, toward open sea once more. Poseidon rises, carrying with him not conquest, but understanding, not dominance, but balance. As he walks forward, The labyrinth fades behind him, its coral walls dissolving into the currents. The ocean beyond spreads vast and endless, yet it no longer feels lonely or empty. The sea itself seems to breathe with him, matching his rhythm, calm and whole. He looks back once, seeing the last glimmer of coral sink into the deep, then vanish. No regret touches him, only gratitude. For the labyrinth has given him more than he sought. It has given him himself, unmasked and unbound, steady as tide, vast as ocean. Poseidon drifts upward, the sunlight above growing stronger, warming the waters around him. When he breaks the surface, the horizon stretches in gold and blue, endless and alive. The waves rise and fall, no longer heavy, but light, carrying him like a trusted friend. The trident glows faintly, not in brilliance, but in quiet strength, aligned with his heart. He breathes in the air, salt and fresh, knowing he carries the labyrinth within him always. The sea accepts him as he has accepted it, whole, imperfect, eternal. And so Poseidon, Lord of the Deep, walks forward into his realm, no longer divided, but one. The coral labyrinth lies behind, yet also within, a journey etched forever in tide and memory. And in the vastness of the ocean, harmony reigns as storm and stillness meet in balance.